Hi all, this is Jan Almighty and welcome to this video. So today once again I've prepared a game with Fischer, and this is second to last game that I'm actually going to show from the Interzonal tournament in Portoroz. And in this tournament and this videos I didn't really go in the chronological order. First I wanted to show you some of the good Fischer games. Okay, the last one will be also good, but I also wanted to show you this game. So this is a game from actually somewhere from the beginning of the tournament. Here he's playing against Benko, once again a very strong player. And yeah, one other good test for Fischer to actually test his strength. But one other thing before starting this game, in the last video with Fischer I actually show you the game with Tigran Portorozian, at that point the future world champion. But one thing that I failed to do is show you this picture. So this is actually the picture from this tournament. As you can see here, Fischer is very much a youngster playing Portorozian, very focused on the position, and Portorozian just looking over Fischer, trying to figure out how can this young boy make moves such as this, and how can I actually break him and win in the game. Yeah, Portorozian was thinking and thinking, but in the end he didn't manage to win the game, unfortunately for him. And Portorozian and Fischer in the end passed one of the first real tests and not playing a game not in the United States, actually in Europe, and I guess made one bigger step on coming to the elite and playing with the elite in the end. But today he is playing against, today I'm going to show you a video where he is playing against Benko, and you will see one other side of Fischer, maybe something not so common to him, making a very bad positional move, which ended up costing him the game. So let's see what he did. We have d4 and knight to f6. As we all know, when somebody plays d4 or c4, at this point in his career, Fischer used to play the moves that would set up something like a King's Indian. We have c4 and now g6, knight to c3 and bishop to c7. We have here e4 played by Benko, and after d6 we have f3 going for the Saemisch variation. And now we have e5 striking the center by Fischer. And now this goes with the several options now, because white can try and take on e5. I mean, he can take on e5, and after these exchanges maybe he wants to go for the exchange of queens. And yeah, in this situation you would get rid of ability for black to actually go castle. And this is something that probably at one point in your career you would want to do, playing against amateur players, because one of the most famous principles which you learn when you start playing chess is you don't want to give up your queen, exchange it early on, and yeah, take with the king, because then you lose your ability to go castle, and that can be a problem. But actually in the new age, players have gotta kind of get used to playing these kinds of variations in the King's Indian, in the Pierce defense, and in the Philidor's defense. So this is something that is played quite often, and after a move such as these, queenside castle or rook to d1 would just lead to king to c8, playing c6 in some of the moves, stopping knight to d5, knight to b5, developing the knight on d7, and black can go out with a very comfortable game. After c6, king to c7 was a possibility. So yeah, this is, if you want to play something like this, you should definitely try it. In the end, black won't have that many weaknesses. So Benko of course doesn't go for this. He could have went for d5, something that maybe Portorozian, as you saw, would go for, or maybe even Karpov. But here he actually played knight from g2 e2, a move that I would like to play. Because after the pawn takes, knight will take, and after something like bishop to e3, you go into that setup of the dragon variation in the Sicilian, and also, as you can see, Saemisch variation in the King's Indian, where then you can continue on playing g4 and h4, go for the kingside attack. But yeah, after knight from g2 e2, we have castles by black and bishop to g5, pinning the knight. We have then e captures on d4 and knight captures on d4, and now knight to c6, developing the knight with the tempo, and also making some threats after this knight is unpinned, capturing the knight on d4 after maybe some discovery, because this bishop and this knight, this is a very common motif in the, as I said, King's Indian and also the Sicilian dragon. So we have knight to c2 right away, moving the knight out of danger, and bishop to e6. We have bishop to e2 developing, If, for example, knight to d5 would have been played like a common move, I wouldn't advise you going for bishop takes on d5. Yeah, because after that the pawn will take, and white will have this really nice pawn chain. Even though this bishop won't look as the best of pieces after developing on e2 or d3, in the end, yeah, this is a very good pawn chain, and the dark square bishop will work wonders for white. So wouldn't definitely advise something like that. You shouldn't be afraid of playing a move such as h6 here, because after knight takes, bishop takes on h6 and rook to e8, attacking this pawn, and yeah, having the bishop on this diagonal, the king is still in the center, the bishop isn't developed. Black would enjoy a very much an active game. So this is something that, once again, you can go for if you want to. But as I've said, bishop to e2 was played here, and now h6. I'm making this bishop this side, bishop to h4, and bishop Ng5. Now bishop to f2, moving out of the way, and now knight to e5, centralizing the knight. We have knight to e3, so this pawn was attacked twice, now he is defended twice, and now c6. Yeah, just not allowing the jump on d5. We have castles by white and queen to a5. Now it seems that maybe queen to d6 was possible, but after rook f to d8, this queen cannot go anywhere. Possible moves are b4 or queen to a3. Essentially, if you play b4, yeah, then just rook will take, pawn will take, this diagonal is open. If you play queen to a3, b captures on a3, this diagonal is open. So once again, much more active play for black, and much more threats, because now knight to h5 is an idea with jump of the knight to f4. Knight discoveries with this knight, because bishop will be attacking on c3, which is undefended. If the knight moves, the rook will be attacked. So yeah, a very good play for white. So of course Benko doesn't do it. He plays queen to d2. We have rook from f to d8 defending, and rook from f to d1, a6 and a4. Attempt of Fischer's to actually push on the queen side, but Benko stops it right away. Now we have queen to c7, and now a5. A very good positional move by Benko, because now this square is actually targeted also with the pawn and also with this bishop when the knight moves. This is a very serious threat, also familiar from the Sicilian opening, and here also from the King's Indian. So here you gotta make a decision. Fischer could have gone queen to e7 and starts attacking on the king side, but here he actually played c5. A very bad positional move, essentially stopping that bishop to b6 coming at some point, but leaving out too many empty holes in his position. So soon, and I mean very fast, Benko will try and take advantage of it. He plays h4 first, disrupting the pawns on the king side, queen to e7, and now h captures on g5 and h captures on g5. Now we have knight to f5, attacking the queen and the bishop, and also with the queen attacking on g5. So we have bishop captures on f5, e captures on f5, and g4. Yeah, just wanting to protect the pawn. Also possible was maybe knight to c6, but yeah, here Fischer just wants to defend the pawn. And we have bishop back to h4, queen to f8, moving out of the pin, and now f captures on g4, knight from e captures on g4 because this knight is pinned, and now bishop captures on g4 and knight captures on g4. As I said, this knight was pinned, but here Fischer could have taken the rook, but he played, Benko could have taken the rook, but he played a much better move, which is queen to g5. Disregard rook, but continue with the attack. Now knight to f6 is the only move, because if you don't move it the knight, it will be captured, and if you move it somewhere else, then f6 is an idea, and black is just getting, yeah, mated. We have rook to d3 now, a rook lift, which will bring the rook on g3 or h3 depending on the position, and just, yeah, continue with the attack. Knight to h7, queen moves to g4, and now f6. So kind of stopping some threats, but creating other weaknesses, which is knight to d5. And now the idea is knight c7 and knight to e6. And this knight will be attacking the rook, the queen, and the bishop. And this is just, yeah, very bad for black. So Fischer plays queen to f7. Now we have rook to e1, rook to e8, yeah, defending the open e-file. And now a bit of a mistake by Benko. He could have played rook to e6 and then just continue with the attack. If you take, then now white has a passed pawn, also with all these other threats.
So pushing the e pawn and also rook to g3, attacking on this g7 square, creating mate threats. Yeah, Fischer couldn't have just defended both. So yeah, this is just bad. If he plays something like king to h8, there is a rook to f6, and after knight to f6, bishop to f6, bishop to f6, rook to h3. Yeah, as once again black is just getting checkmated. So yeah, this was a possibility, but Benko played a rook to e3, but now rook to e5 is possible. We have bishop to g3 attacking the rook, rook captures, and now rook to e8. Only now Benko played rook to e6, but now he still has this positional advantage which will bring him victory, because after knight to g5 he just played rook to d6, and after rook to e4 attacking the queen, we have a rook to d8 check. Now king has to move somewhere. The only square is king to h7, and now bishop to f4, defending the queen by blocking the attack from the rook. Okay, in this position it's not like you have much possibilities. So actually here in this position Fischer committed his final mistake, and that is playing bishop to h6. Maybe some of you who are very good tacticians see the move right away, which is rook to d7 now. Pinning the queen to the king, the queen cannot go out of the way, and if she captures on d7, then a simple knight to f6 with check brings the queen. So this was a possibility, but actually instead of taking here, we saw rook to e1 check, king to f4, king to f2, and now after knight to e4, king captures on e1 and queen captures on d7. The problem is now that you cannot capture on f6 with the knight, because this knight is defending, but here queen to g6 was played, and actually in this position Fischer resigned the game. The reason is after king to h8 and queen captures on h6, yeah, black is just worst, he is down a piece, and after a couple of moves he will soon be checkmated. So yeah, this is kind of a display of Fischer's not so good side, playing a very bad positional move in c5 in the middle of the game, and Benko very experiencedly treated this position and actually gained so much positional advantage that he didn't even have to bother until this last move. Not even the last move. Throughout the whole game he was just equal in material, but positionally much better. So yeah, 40 moves have passed, and in the end, yeah, still Benko with the material being equal in material he have just collected so much positional advantage that this is just pure chess greatness and experience. Okay, enough of that being said. Once again, sorry that I didn't show you the picture from Petrosian and Fischer in that game. Hope you enjoyed it, that you saw how Fischer actually looked like when he played on that tournament. And yeah, this is pretty much it for this video. As I said, I will show you one more game from that tournament, playing against Svetozar Gligoric. So if you're interested in that, definitely stay tuned. And yeah, that being said, I would like to thank you for watching this video, and I will see you next time.